can't ignore. Ray and Kevin diving deep into all things galore. Comic book, movie, sci-fi, and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real, real. Reminiscing the attitude era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blurb forever, we love it so much. Geek Blurb, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blurb, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? That's messed up, right? Geek Blurb, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us every week, we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
It's poppin'.
Welcome back. How are we doing, brother?
Doing good. Doing good. We are in the throes of summer, almost to the end. We are going to talk about a few things. We got our very first comic book review. We're going to start that off this week with a brand new segment. Now, AI has become our friend on the podcast ever since we've been on YouTube because it's royalty free.
And we fucking hate it.
So here's another intro that we can hate too. This is called Comic Book Blast.
Okay.
From Marvel Max to DC's might, we'll shine the spotlight oh so bright. Characters that make your hearts race. In our review, find your place. Join the laughter, let's break the trend. Flip the pages, feel the rush. Superheroes, villains in a hush. With every panel we'll bring the zest. Join our rock, we're Comic Blast.
I told the AI to make something peppy, and that rocks out. That's what I came up with.
That's the best it could do.
Yes, that's the best
You're
it could
supposed to be
do.
writing our movie soon.
Yes. So very first comic book that we are going to be reviewing is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I don't know. You know history of this when it came out? I didn't get any history. Didn't write anything down.
Yes, it came out in 2020, I want to say.
Okay,
there's
so
a whole
2 years ago.
history and the backstory of why Tom King wrote it and how he got into it, which I read about like a year and a half ago, so I don't really remember much about that. But
Okay.
yeah.
8 issues, miniseries brought into this one paperback that you gave me, and then you get the deluxe edition.
What happened is he wanted 12 issues, but Supergirl was not selling at the time. She had basically been canceled as far as any runs go, so they let him do 8 issues instead of 12.
Okay. So overall, the story is pretty good. I mean, basically, I don't know how we're going to review this. This is our first time, so we're going to be figuring this out as we go. But like I said, the comic book is called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's all about Kara, Supergirl, going off planet, meeting this young girl who she ends up taking almost like a under her wing, but she's goes through some traumatic stuff on her planet. Her father gets killed, and she has to help her go across the galaxy to find the man that killed her father, and that's basically what the whole entire story is. And at the end, there's a lesson that is learned. There's a lot of cool things that happen in it. A lot of visually stuff. The dialogue in it is very good too.
Yes. And the artwork is fantastic. The girl's name, I believe, is pronounced Ruthie, but some people call her Ruthie. It's kind of up in the air as how do you interpret her name. But the artwork in this book is really what caught my eye, and I could see why James Gunn wants to go this direction with his first Supergirl movie or project, because it's an outer space adventure, and I think it's fantastic. I love this book a lot.
Yeah, it's very good. Let's talk about some stuff that's going to work from page to screen. First of all, what will work? I mean, no origin needed. This Supergirl has been around for a while now.
Yes.
And they're in the middle of the book, towards the end, there's a flashback of Krypton and what happens to the planet Krypton. What happens to her bubble world that ends up going off of Krypton, and her father, and how the kryptonite had to be kept at bay with lead lining over the planet. Very cool how they did that with the flashbacks. I think in a movie that would work great, because we already know that there's not going to be too many origins in the James Gunn universe. It's all going to be kind of these superheroes already existing. So something like this would work perfectly as a story in his universe.
Yes, 100%.
The dialogue and having a seasoned Supergirl was great. I liked a lot of the stuff that they were talking about as far as truth, justice, and the American way. There's one scene where she's talking about leap tall buildings in a single bound, faster than a locomotive, and she's there's really cool how the way that I didn't get the exact quote, but it's really cool how they put the dialogue in this book. Like you mentioned, space adventure. James Gunn, very famous for that with Guardians and going forward. I think that's what DC is going to be going with. And you see Crypto, the way they use Crypto and the way they use Comet in this book. Comet is the super horse. The way they use him in this book, I thought was fantastic. We haven't seen Crypto in anything live action, but he's in the animated stuff. He had a Crypto movie, I believe, with The Rock. But having them in this story, I think in live action will look great. It's just kind of like a super alien being. They don't talk or anything, but they're there. They have superpowers, so on and so forth. A little bit of secret to Comet, which is kind of cool to get at the end of the book. But the big thing that I get from this is the importance of the comic book adaptation versus an original movie story, which for DC has been their problem all along, where they haven't really stuck to the comic books that have been there for 70, 80, 90 years, however long it's been.
Yep.
They have gone on their own original stories, where it seems like James Gunn is doing adaptations more on the books rather than original stories, which Marvel has done. I mean, Civil War, Infinity War, even though those are titles, the stories are a little bit different than the comic books. However, the basic story of those comic books is throughout the DNA of Marvel and the MCU. And it seems like that's what James Gunn is doing, which is fantastic. Having a story like this with great writing, bringing this page right to the screen is a great first step. I'm not sure. I haven't read the Superman stuff that the Superman movie is based off. I know you have. I think having that DNA into DC is exactly what James Gunn needs, and reading something like this is a positive step forward for them for sure. After years of the Snyderverse, and even before that, the Donnerverse, everything.
Look what they did with BVS, where they basically crammed 3 comic book stories into like one movie in BVS, and the general audience didn't care. Like, you have to it has to be more like streamlined. Like, just do this one story. Don't try to make a 3-hour movie with 3 different stories at once. Stick to this one story, and they should be good. I think the DCU is in really good hands. I hope so, at least. A lot of positivity around it right now, amongst more people than not. But where do you see her if she's in Superman? Where do you see her being in that film?
I think it'll be an intro to this story of why she's off-world. I think it's going to set up why she goes off-world, and then this is going to pick up Woman of Tomorrow. I think if they do a true adaptation to this, which I really think after reading this they should, keep it strictly to this, because it would be in its own little bubble, which would be great. It's kind of connected to everything, but it's an origin story of her, too, mixed in as well. Like I said, with those flashbacks of Krypton, her growing up, and the whole world of Krypton falling apart, and seeing, like I think they mentioned in the book, there was 13,000 people that survived Krypton by this little bubble. If you know, it's like the shrunk in the comic books, and they said it for years, like where she came from was this little part of, it was almost like an asteroid that came off of the planet Krypton as it was blowing up. And her father, Zor-El, ended up taking this bubble and putting it over the atmosphere of this little part of Krypton that had broken off. So everyone that was there was survived. Well, when this chunk came out into our yellow sun, the minerals on the planet underneath the ground started to change, like they do with kryptonite on Earth. Like everything happened with the comets that hit here, that helped destroy Superman. It started poisoning everybody in the city. So having that background, having that without having the full origin story would be great in flashbacks. And we always hear that shrunken city of Krypton. I can't remember the name of it, but we always hear about that. But it's great to see that, the bottled city. It'd be great to see that and see how that turns out. But like you mentioned, like you asked, I think having her origin, because in the beginning of this book, it picks up on her at this planet kind of getting drunk off her ass as much as she can as a super being.
It's her 21st birthday, so she's on this planet with the red sun so that she can actually get drunk, because as we know, you can't get drunk in the yellow sun. I think it'll be like I wouldn't be surprised if she's the one that shows Clark or Cal the Fortress of Solitude, and maybe that's where the explanation of how Krypton got destroyed is. In that scene, we still have not heard anything about Jor-El, right? We don't have a name or an actor cast for that character. So she might be the kind of the guiding light in this first film. Of course, they could always cast a Jor-El because you just need to go in for a day and do whatever. But I mean, James Gunn said he's not really doing reshoots and they've wrapped production, so I don't know what they're going to do with Jor-El. I'm looking forward to seeing how she's introduced and if she will be in Superman. I hope she is. Kind of introduce her, and then maybe she goes off world in that movie.
Yep, makes perfect sense. And I think at the end, somewhere in Superman, she's going to go off world. And she's going to go take a break and go drink and find this girl, and the whole story will play out, which I think would be great. I think it should be adapted for sure. Overall, I don't think we're going to rate these. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? We should rate these?
I'd just say thumbs up, thumbs down. I give it a thumbs up, obviously.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. That's good. I like that. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. We'll keep it that way. Thumbs up for me. I think it was very, very good.
Awesome.
And I think we'll do this like every 2 months. Probably we'll do you more so in the wintertime just because you have off. We'll do me in the summer. Like this will be the first one. The next one in October you can do the Marvels, which will be the next one. But very good. Very good. Very good recommendation. I kind of want to get into the stuff that James Gunn is going to be adapting and see where it's going to go. I know you've already done that.
I wish he was releasing that combination book or a set before, like, it's coming out like 2 weeks before the movie. I wish it was coming out like this winter so that it could give people like an idea. It's coming out like June 24th. The movie comes out July 11th. We'll definitely have to do some of that Superman stuff because there's a few of those I have not read. So I do want to get into those also. I've read probably, I think it's based on like 4. I've read 2 of them. So obviously Kingdom Come I've read. So, but we'll do this going forward.
Okay. So let's go further into the show. What we watched this week, Instigators on Apple TV. This is the brand new movie with Casey Affleck and Matt Damon. Should have been put in the theater. I don't know why it wasn't. I mean, it's Apple TV exclusive, so I get it. It was decent. I don't know. Did you end up watching it at all?
I don't have Apple TV anymore.
Oh, you don't have it? Yeah, I had a free trial, so I ended up watching it.
I'm picking it up when Shrinking comes back.
Okay, good idea. Yeah, $9.99 a month now. It used to be $4.99. But it also starred Ron Perlman. We just talked about him last week with Hellboy. Toby Jones. He's been in a lot of things. He was Zemo.
Baron Zemo?
No. The Red Skull's like henchman. He's in everything. But he also played Dobby in Harry Potter. Toby Jones. Ving Rhames was in this. Haven't seen him in much lately. Paul Walter Hauser. We just talked about him a few months ago. He had a quick scene in this. Jack Harlow, the rapper, the white rapper, and Gronk had a little quick cameo in this too. Like I said, Casey Affleck, Matt Damon, supposed to be like a buddy cop. Humor was hit or miss. Very dry humor. I think it may have been just Matt Damon as the way he's playing the character, kind of dry. Casey Affleck, another dry character. Doesn't look like they could laugh themselves out of a box, but overall, okay. I mean, if you love Boston, you're gonna love this. A lot of Boston scenes, a lot of stuff going on in the big town. So overall, probably like a 3 out of 5. I don't think I'd watch it again. Humor was hit or miss, like I said, but It's good. It's good to. I'd like to see. I was actually, while I was watching this, I was thinking, wow, they should just do a movie, even though it kind of happened in the '90s with Good Will Hunting, with every single famous Boston actor like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Casey.
Well, at the time that came out, they
Mark
weren't
Wahlberg.
really famous. Like
Right.
They had been very small bit players, and that's what made them famous. But yeah, I know you're saying that'd be really cool.
They can do it like an Avengers Boston movie. Put all the Boston actors together in one movie. But yeah, something like that would be cool. Umbrella Academy, the final season, season 4. It went off with a whimper. It was not that good. It was compared to the first 2 seasons, which were outstanding. 3rd season was pretty good. 4th season, it seemed like they rushed it, although they hadn't. I think they had like 2 years to make this. I don't know why they rushed it. It was only 6 episodes, number 1. I think each season was 8 up until this point. I think it was just Netflix giving them the reins just to finish the story, pretty much, because I think a lot of people were watching it, but for some reason they didn't want to go on with the story. But yeah, it was kind of a whimper and a weak ending to something that was great in the beginning and kind of fell off.
You loved this. I remember you telling me you liked it more than The Boys after like the 1st or 2nd season of Umbrella Academy.
The second season was really good.
Yeah.
The second season's all about them going. It's all about them going back in time and trying to stop the assassination of JFK, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But the actors that were brought in this season: David Cross from Mr. Show with Bob Odenkirk, Megan Mullally, Nick Offerman, real life married couple. Nick Offerman's great in everything I've ever seen.
Yeah, obviously.
Overall, it was kind of a whimper to a great show, and it kind of sucks because I really did like it. And I was hoping we get a better ending than we did, but it was kind of weak. A lot of people are comparing it to Lost, so
it's never good.
No. Last week we talked about the toys that made us. Now I know you've watched this a while ago. This came out in 2017.
I reviewed
most of it.
I think I might have reviewed some of it on the podcast, maybe.
Yeah. 2017, 2018, 2019, all 3 of these seasons came out. And the reason we talked about it is because they announced there's going to be a 4th and 5th season, I believe, coming out. I think they're filming it currently, the interviews for it. But we're going to talk about these seasons that I watched. I watched every single one of these this week. Season 1 came out in 2017. And then, of course, the show is all about toys. Now, they talk about the history of how these toys happened. And a lot of these toys you and I had growing up. So that's why it piqued my interest. But Season 1 talked about Star Wars toys, Barbie, He-Man, and G.I. Joe. We've talked about He-Man before. Well, He-Man was just right before our time. And same with G.I. Joe, too. Like, I didn't have any of the G.I. Joe figures, especially like when Sergeant Slaughter was a big part of it. But overall, like Star Wars,
like we just missed G.I. Joe.
And
I had
He-Man
a couple
too.
of the tapes, and He-Man. I had a couple of the tapes of both of those from family friends that were older than me. So I got a few of the VHS G.I. Joe tapes. But yeah, the toys I always wanted the boat, the G.I. Joe boat, because I had the pond in my backyard growing up. I thought that was awesome. But my parents, Santa never delivered on that.
My parents, sorry, Santa. Season 1, but the big thing was Star Wars. I mean, I used to collect Star Wars toys back when they weren't worth anything in the early 2000s.
A couple $100 on Episode 1 toys, hoping for the best.
Episode 1, Episode 2, and Episode 3. If you go back and look at what they cost now, they're pennies.
Yeah.
So, but they talk about all the history of the Star Wars toys, which is great. Talked about the deal that Lucas made with who was it at the time? Not Hasbro. I can't remember who was it. Kenner.
Kenner, yes, Kenner.
Yeah, Kenner, and how the deal that he made for like a nickel on a dollar. And then he restructured that deal later on and made a ton of money with merchandise.
Made all their money.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the movies were whatever, but they made all their money off the licensing and merchandising.
Yep. And then they talked about coming back for the prequels and how Jar Jar kind of ruined everything. And like you mentioned, the price of those figures went way down in 99 and then 2002 and then 2005 when those episode 1, 2, and 3 figures came out. But so when we got to season 2 in 2018, Star Trek figures, Transformers, another thing that came out a couple years before us. I think I had one Transformer toy. But the next thing, Lego was huge for me. It's still huge for me now because I do buy the Star Wars stuff now.
And they're so
Hello
expensive.
Kitty.
Legos are
They're
so
expensive. It's the most expensive toy by price. It's more. I can't remember if it's more expensive than silver or more expensive than gold per like weight. I can't remember. There's something like that. But and Hello Kitty, which we didn't do. That was out of our lexicon.
Yes.
Yep. But again, Lego for me was huge that season 2. But then we get into season 3. This came out in 2019, right before the pandemic. And I don't know why there was. It must have been because of the pandemic why there's such a gap between now and then. Why there's 5 years between the seasons. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right in my lexicon. Power Rangers, right in my lexicon.
Oh yeah.
My Little Pony, no. Wrestling figures,
My
probably
cousins,
for you and your cousins.
Wrestling figures,
Yeah,
definitely for me. Yeah.
the only thing that they didn't touch on that episode was the finger ones. You remember we put the finger in the back?
Yep.
Those are the wrestlers I remember. They didn't touch on it in that episode at all. I was surprised. But that's the one figure. I think I had one. I don't remember who it was, but and I wasn't even watching wrestling back then,
Right.
but I had one. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, fucking huge. I actually went on eBay and started listing all the ones that I wanted and all the ones I had.
20 minutes down the road.
Yep. It did, yeah, right in Dover. And they put the thing on the plaque on the street. It looks like a sewer grate. It looks cool. I haven't been down there yet, but it looks cool in the pictures. And of course, Power Rangers. It was huge back then. I mean, and the thing about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters too, which we're gonna talk about in a minute. But I didn't even put the slide up. But I wanted to bring this up too because it reminded me of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the definitive history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a documentary that came out a few years ago, and I mentioned to you through text that in this season 3 of The Toys That Made Us, the two creators, Eastman and Laird, actually kind of had a bearing of the hatchet in this. And in this documentary that came out a few years ago, it ended with them not talking to each other. So I mentioned it's kind of like a great ending to this documentary that happened. And I kind of got a little emotional watching it because I was invested in this documentary. This is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. If you've never seen it, Definitive History of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtle Power. Great documentary. All about the history, like you mentioned, created in Dover, New Hampshire. And then how they went to be, how they get their merchandising deal, which is they talk about in the season 3, which is pretty exciting and incredible how they got Playmates to make those figures. But and then season 4 and season 5, we talked about it last week. For me, episode 1 is going to be superhero toys. I had a ton of them,
Yeah.
Nerf was huge for us. Pokemon was a little bit past our time. We were a little bit after us. American Greetings, animated toys or stuffed toys. That was right before us too. The Care Bears, stuff like that. Hot Wheels. Every boy in the 80s, 90s had Hot Wheels. That's for us too.
Yep.
Episode 6, Ghostbusters. Probably the one
big episode for you.
toy. Probably the one toy that I had a lot of figures for, and I had the Firehouse.
I was saying, do you have the Firehouse with the removable pole?
Oh yeah.
I got in trouble for it. My sister with the pole.
Yep. I had the slime that made. I still remember the smell. I know everybody that had it still remembers the smell to this day of that slime. Made a mess. You put it through the grate on the top of the Firehouse, and it went down, and it created ooze throughout the Firehouse. Made a huge, gigantic mess. Polly Pocket, again for girls, not for us. Episode 8, fast food toys. McDonald's fast food Happy Meals toys.
Looking forward to that one.
Looking forward to that one too, because it's not just McDonald's; it's all like Burger King. Everybody had great toys back in the day, so I'm excited about that. Great show. That's on Netflix, and it kind of got me thinking: what other toys would we like to see on this show? What would we like to see going forward? I mean, they're already coming back. We didn't know they'd be coming back. I really didn't even know much about the show, and I knew it was there, but I didn't watch it until this week. So. What toys are left that they haven't touched? I don't know where else they could go.
Yeah, I have no idea. Because they've done all the ones that I kind of grew up with, or going to cover those.
The big ones.
The big ones. I have no idea. What about you? Did you come up with anything?
Ghostbusters is huge. I'm glad that they're doing that. They haven't done anything like the Slinky. Like even though it's a small toy, it's still one of the originals. Like the OG toys, like Slinkies, Frisbees, like where the origins of that stuff came from. Those are big toys. Going even further back into something like that. But I think they're focused more on the the phenomenon of what happened.
Part 3, the frisbee came from
A
him
pie
throwing
plate.
a pie plate.
Yes.
So we know that origin.
Yes, right. So yeah, there's so much stuff that they could do with this show. I know there's another one too, the Toys That Made America or something like that. There's another one too, and I think that does cover slinkies and frisbees and stuff like that.
Okay.
So maybe that's why they're sticking to this stuff. It's more of the lexicon, more of the craze. The other thing I was thinking of, Tickle Me Elmo, Furbies, Tamagotchi. There's so much there.
Yep.
That was kind of the summer of Cabbage Patch Kids, huge in the 80s, but it was before our time. More for girls, however huge. Teddy Ruxpin. That's kind of all of a sudden just came to me what I was thinking when I was watching this. Teddy Ruxpin. Another thing that was huge. Yeah. You put a tape in there, it would play a storybook to you, but you could also put Metallica in there, and it could sing Enter Sandman to you, and Teddy Ruxpin's mouth would be opening while he's singing to Enter
Creepy
Sandman.
motherfucker.
Creepy motherfucker, and then the batteries die.
Yep.
So it was great, great show. I'm looking forward to seeing. I don't know when they're coming out, but looking forward to seeing these next 8 episodes. It sounds great. So last week we had a little retrospective, kind of big retrospective on Robin Williams.
Yep.
And we talked a lot about his funny movies, and we also mentioned how I hadn't watched a lot of his dramas. And I thought I had seen one of these, but I haven't seen any of these, so this is a brand new thing for me. 6 Robin Williams movies we're going to talk briefly about. 1 Hour Photo. We're actually going to go down history. We're going to go back to the future, back to the past instead of back to the future. 1 Hour Photo came out in 2003. Gary Cole, who played Bill Lumbergh in Office Space. Clark Gregg, Agent Coulson had a little quick cameo in this, but this is Robin Williams works in a Walmart type store, and he works in a photo lab, and he's kind of obsessed with this one family that's been coming in for years, and the family, and he has pictures in his house. He's kind of very obsessive about it, very psychotic about it. Very good movie. Just seeing his turn of how he turns in this movie into a psychopath, and there's a twist at the end. I don't want to get into the twist, but the twist at the end, you think he's gonna kill them, but something else happens. It's kind of weird, kind of strange, but and then we get into Insomnia. Now I know you've seen this movie because it's directed by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
Big thing about this is one of his first big, huge drama roles that he did, as a villain. And like I mentioned, directed by Christopher Nolan. This was his second movie after.
It was his third movie following. Well, then you had Memento, and then you had Insomnia. Yeah. Memento was the first big theater movie. I think the following was it might have been a student film or right after college. But this was technically his second film.
And then this is the movie that got Christopher Nolan to do Batman, pretty much. This is kind of the stepping off point, but this is the big one. Al Pacino starred in this as a detective that came from L.A. to Alaska. This is all set in Alaska in the summertime when the sun doesn't go down, so the sun's out all night long, and they're not. He's he can't sleep. That's why it's called Insomnia.
Yes.
Hilary Swank, Maura Tierney, who's in a bunch of stuff in the 90s, and Robin Williams plays the villain in this. Like I mentioned. There's a killing that's happened in this big city, and they have to send Al Pacino and another cop up there to do it, to figure out what's going on, and a whole bunch of stuff happens. Don't want to get into the logistics of it, but good movie. Has a lot of great Nolan visuals. I mean, he's known for that big wide look at the screen, at the environment when he's filming. You can definitely get that from this as well, in the Alaska wilderness. So, great movie. 1991, The Fisher King, directed by Terry Gilliam from Monty Python. He did Time Bandits. He did I can't remember the other ones that he did, but this starred him, Robin Williams, and Jeff Bridges. And it's all about Jeff Bridges. He's a kind of a Howard Stern, Don Imus type of radio host, and Robin Williams is a homeless person. You find a little bit more about his past. He used to be a doctor, and his wife got killed by some crazy lunatic that followed the radio host Jeff Bridges, and he went crazy and shot up a whole entire restaurant and killed Robin Williams' wife. Robin Williams went crazy and a whole bunch of shit happened. This movie was pretty good. Out of all the movies, it's probably the weirdest of them all, but Terry Gilliam is known for that. But overall, Jeff Bridges, great actor. Robin Williams, great. Seeing them together is great. Yeah, good movie. And then we get to 1990 Awakenings with Robert De Niro as a person. This is set in 1969, and this is after, kind of before medicine became like how they figured out medicine, and they had a whole entire hospital with people that are kind of mute and didn't say anything, didn't do anything, couldn't move, didn't have any reflexes, any reactions to anything. And Robin Williams' character as a doctor went into this hospital and realized that all of these patients could have reactions, but there's something that's holding them back. So he did a little bit of research, found out that they have some sort of a almost onset Parkinson's that wasn't diagnosed because they had no idea what that was at the time. And he found this drug for Parkinson's, worked on them to kind of awaken them. That's why the movie's called Awakenings. And Robert De Niro was a complete mute, couldn't move, had no motor functions, and he gave this medicine to Robert De Niro's character, and he all of a sudden started to perk up and became the life of the party. And it's all about that story of that medicine and how it started to weaken him. And he thought he was the strongest person. He thought he had his life back. And again, he's 40 years ago he was frozen, so he kind of still thinks he's a kid at heart. The last time that he remembers he was active. And then the medicine starts to slowly wear off, and you slowly see him descent back into that weakened state. And towards the end, there's some really cool visuals of what happens with him. I think he's great. Robert De Niro, of course, great actor, but the way he plays that is amazing. And Robin Williams playing the doctor in this is great too. Julie Kavnar played Marge Simpson in The Simpsons. Alice Drummond, Ray Finkel's mom, she's familiar in this. John Hurd, the dad in Home Alone, he's in this as well. Bradley Whitford from Billy Madison, Max von Sydow, Vinny Pastore, Big Pussy. He was kind of played a patient in this too, but it was good. 1990 that came out. Dead Poets Society, 1989. This starred Robin Williams as a professor of a college or a high school, private high school. Catholic, I think it may have been Catholic or. I don't know what it was. It was some sort of a religious school, but starred Ethan Hawke when he was very, very young. A whole bunch of other young kids looked familiar. I don't know their names. Kirkwood Smith, who was in that 70s show, plays Red. Laura Flynn Boyle's in this. There's a few other actresses. But the famous line from this is Carpe Diem, oh Captain, my Captain. Very famous scene in the beginning of the movie. Even I knew that before I even went in watching this. But overall, great movie. But then I get into 1988's Good Morning Vietnam, which for some reason I thought I've seen.
Yep.
I've only seen bits and pieces because some of it I have seen, but I have not seen the whole movie. This was probably out of all of them, this was my favorite. This is Robin Williams, 1988. This is kind of right after Mork and Mindy, right after Popeye, a few years after Popeye. But this is him at his comedic best, also with a little bit of drama added into the Vietnam War. He's a radio host over at Vietnam. At the time, it was more news-based, more straightforward, but he brought his comedic timing, comedy, and the people, the higher-ups in the army, did not like that at all, and they took it out on him. And he falls in love with a local Asian Vietnamese woman that lives in this town that they're in, and some stuff happens there with her brother. Great movie. Forrest Whitaker when he was young stars in this. Robert Wall, who was in Batman, of course, Arliss from the HBO show. I've never seen it, but I know that. But overall, dramas for Robin Williams, that was my favorite. But he is just a great actor. We talked about it last week. Not only the comedy, which we all know, but the drama stuff. He's just fantastic, and I'm kind of glad I went into the deep dive of this. It was really, really good. And you, before we get into the D23 of everything last weekend, you watched a movie yesterday, Alien Romulus.
I did. This movie was supposed to be. This is literally the only note I wrote. It was supposed to be a Hulu exclusive. And when they started pre-production, they realized the script was really good. It's by Fede Alvarez, who have you ever seen Don't Breathe?
I don't think I have.
We're watching that this October. It's one of my favorite
Okay.
horror movies of the last 20 years. It's fucking fantastic. It's got Steve Lang in it. It's fantastic. I love it.
Okay.
But he wrote and directed this movie, and I'm not going to give any spoilers. I will say it pays homage. I think you'll love this movie when you see it. It pays homage to the first two Aliens. Mostly, it takes place between Alien 1 and 2. Alien and Aliens. It takes place between them. And it pays homage to the Prometheus films, of course. And it has a whole lot of stuff about all that stuff. But basically, a lot of homages, I guess you could say, to all of the Alien movies. But basically, it's about these people that are on like a mining planet, and they want to get the fuck off, and they realize they still can't do that for years because they don't have the money to. And there's a space station floating, so they decide to leave the mining planet to go up to that space station, which is completely illegal, and steal a bunch of stuff to kind of sell it all off, and hopefully get the money to get off the space station, whatever. So they do that, and of course the whole thing has aliens in it. It is gripping. It is very, very, very similar to the first two movies.
That's what I heard.
The horror elements of the first movie are there. Fede Alvarez shot the shit out of this movie. It's for a $70 million budget. It is beautiful. He does some really cool things that we have not seen in Alien movies before. Involving gravity and the alien blood. That scene's one of my favorite scenes in any Alien movie. When you see it, you'll just be like, wow, it's just a very cool scene. It was probably my second favorite Alien movie behind Alien until the last 15 minutes. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it and see how I feel. I think I'm going to need to see it a few more times before I say it's better than Aliens, because I've seen that movie a million times. It's a movie that got me into the franchise. But I had a smile on my face for most of the movie while also being terrified. I saw it in RPX, so the seat was like rumbling the entire time.
Nice.
It was a great movie theater experience. There's one really awesome homage to the originals, and then like 30 seconds later, one terrible homage. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. The AI or the artificial person, there's always one in every Alien movie.
Yep.
This person this being carried the entire movie. Their acting was, they had to basically they had to act two different ways throughout the entire course of the movie. And the character's name is Andy, and he is fantastic. The girl is the same girl from Civil War. That's not Kirsten Dunst.
Okay.
She stars in it. It's got the girl playing Hawkgirl. She's in it from James Gunn's Superman. Overall, I give it a 4.5 stars. It was close to being 5 until the last 10 minutes, and the ending is going to be incredibly divisive. I'll say that, but I do hope they get Fede Alvarez to do a follow-up film that leads into Aliens, just like Ridley was going to do the third Prometheus, which was going to set up Alien, but of course, because the Prometheus movies didn't do that well at the box office, that one got canned, which is unfortunate. But I hope they do one more with Fede Alvarez leading into Aliens to set everything up, because there's some nice setups in this, but it doesn't end where I thought it would. But yeah, very good movie. I can't wait for you to see it and talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that soon. Movies in the theaters right now, and it's doing gangbusters. They're saying it could make $50 million this weekend alone, which is great for an Alien movie for sure.
Yes.
So D23 happened last weekend. We talked a little bit about it when we recorded, but most of the stuff happened after we recorded. The big reveals were that night during the panel that they had, the 2-hour panel. It was late at night. Got all the notes for that. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about some reveals. They're coming out with some figures. They have a Walt Disney Mickey Mouse figure. One of the very first 1/10 art scale of this looked pretty cool. Mickey Mouse and Walt sitting on a bench. Iron Studio is also coming out with a Wolverine and Gambit figure, which looked amazing. I have it right there in our page, but it looks great. And of course, if you've seen X-Men 97, you know that came right from the show. So, and they had a whole installation at D23. They had they had Professor Xavier's office, and they had it all set up like the 90s. X-Men 97, if you haven't seen it, is probably one of the best things Marvel's come out with. Some Marvel information for the theme parks. The Disney. They're going to be coming out with a Villains World at Magic Kingdom in Orlando. I don't know why they waited so long to do this, but they're actually going to have a whole land based off all of the villains that have ever been in any of the Disney movies. From Maleficent to Ursula, you name it, they're all going to be here. The evil queen from Snow White, the hunter that killed Bambi. Probably not, but the biggest villain in all of the Disney movies.
Yes.
But yeah, it's really cool that they're going to have that. It looks like it's going to be focused on Sleeping Beauty's castle. It looks like, or Maleficent's castle in the background. So it's probably going to have a big, huge portion part of this. But I can't believe it took this long for that to happen. But it does look cool. It does sound cool. They're also going to be having the very first auto animatronic Walt Disney coming into the parks. Going to be in Disneyland. For some reason, I'm surprised this has never happened yet either. I mean, they have Hollow Presidents, which is always creepy animatronics, but I think they waited for the animatronic just to get just right, just perfect. If you've seen some animatronics lately, they're almost fucking lifelike. They look like they're talking. Every movement of their mouth muscles, everything looks like they're actually real. I think that's what they were waiting for, the technology to meet up with it. But they also announced in Disney California Adventure they're going to be doing a whole entire attraction theme to Coco, another great movie. The Day of the Dead, of course, great movie. I'm going to be doing a whole attraction focused on that. They're going to be doing a whole Monsters Inc. land coming to Disney World, Hollywood Studios. It's going to have a suspended roller coaster, very first one ever in a Disney park. And it looks like they're going to be following along with Mike and Sully as they're going along with the doors in the movie. If you've ever seen the movie, and you're going to be going on the roller coaster, trying to find the doors to different people's houses to go be monsters in their closet. But they may have an Encanto themed ride. If you've ever seen that movie, it's going to be in Animal Kingdom. They're going to be refocusing Animal Kingdom in a whole new way there. Great movie that came out a couple of years ago during the pandemic. They're going to be having a brand new part of Pandora from Avatar. It's going to be focused more on the Way of Water and the sequels that we're going to talk about in a minute on Pandora and brand new places. But the big thing in Animal Kingdom they're also adding is an Indiana Jones part of the park. Indiana Jones attraction is going to be walking through, experiencing Indiana Jones like we never experienced him really before in a park. Rides, full walkthrough, kind of like Star Wars did with Galaxy's Edge. So sounds pretty cool. They're also going to be adding Mando and Grogu into Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, which is the big thing that they have in Galaxy's Edge. In Disneyland Paris, they're going to be doing a new Lion King attraction. Same thing. They're going to be making this whole new Lion King experience, walking in, seeing all the animatronic animals from the movie, of course. That's kind of cool. In Disneyland Hong Kong and Disneyland Shanghai, they're going to be having two brand new Spider-Man rides. The first one is going to be a coaster that's coming in Shanghai Disneyland, and the second one's going to be is kind of like a coaster slash visual ride where you can see videos. Probably, I don't know if you're wearing goggles or anything, but it's going to be Spider-Man working at Stark Industries as an intern. Looks kind of cool in the previews of that. But the big thing is at Avengers Campus at Disneyland, they're going to double in size. They're going to have two brand new attractions. One we already knew about, Infinity Defense, and the other one is Stark's Flight Lab. And of course, Stark's Flight Lab is it looks just like Tony Stark's office, and people are in almost like the arm that he uses. I can't remember the arm's name in Iron Man, but his kind of robot assistant that helps him build his armor and stuff. It looks like the roller coaster things are based off of that. But the big thing of this is Thanos in the Infinity Defense ride, where you're in an alternate universe of Thanos if he beat the Avengers in Endgame and he becomes King Thanos. And they're going to have a lot of characters from Marvel, a lot of multiversal fuckery. You're going to have all the big characters. You're going to be in it's a car ride where you're in the car. It seems to me it looks a lot like it's going to be like Rise of the Resistance at Disney, where you go through like a Death Star or whatever, Star Destroyer. This is kind of be the same thing where you're riding along and you're witnessing all this stuff happening, multiversal fuckery happening. Sounds really cool. The pictures look exciting. So, and then they announced some movies. Moana 2 come out November 27th. They had a new trailer for that. The Rock was there, announced that he's doing a new movie on Monster Jam.
Yeah, here's the thing about The Rock. He should definitely stick with Disney. I don't know if this is the right project, but stick with Disney. Don't try to lead another company.
Yeah. But yeah, Monster Jam, if you know what Monster Jam is, monster trucks pretty much.
Yes.
And
they roll over other cars. Yes.
They roll over other cars that Jude jumps off of like ramps and shit. It's weird. But of course Rock has had a history with that because WWE had monster trucks back in the 90s, so he had his own monster trucks too. But we also saw the first look at Gal Gadot as the Evil Queen in Snow White. Released a trailer for that. Yeah, it looks really good. I actually like the trailer for that. Like I mentioned before, Avatar, the third movie is going to be called Fire and Ash. Okay. It's like we knew it was going to be a fire world. They already did the water. They already did the fire. So we knew this is kind of the next.
They're basically different worlds from Mario and just putting them into Avatar movies. At this point.
Basically, yep. Toy Story 5 was officially announced coming out on 2026, and they're going to be competing with electronics in this movie, which has never been done in the Toy Story world, which is surprising because toys kind of did lose the sparkle to having the screens in front of you for iPhones, iPads, whatever. It's kind of cool that they're doing that. They also announced Incredibles 3. That's going to be coming out. Brad Bird coming back to develop that. Brad Bird is a great director for that. Everybody wanted him to do the Fantastic Four movie because he did Incredibles so great. Because Incredibles is basically Fantastic Four, just an animated Pixar version. But Zootopia 2, they announced that first look coming out in November 2025. Ki-Yu Kwan's coming in as a character in that. They officially announced Frozen 3 coming out in 2027. Released some shots of that. They also announced a Broadway musical coming out in 2025. It's going to be on Disney Plus of Frozen. They also announced a new Hercules musical. It's in London, coming to London in 2025 as well. They also announced The Greatest Showman, the actual musical. This was Hugh Jackman's kind of like his baby. He wanted this for a while. He finally made it. If you've ever seen that movie, it's pretty good. And Disney announced at D23 that they're going to be doing a full musical adaptation on Broadway of this, so it's kind of cool. Freakier Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis coming back for a sequel to the Freaky Friday movie. The only reason I have that on there is Manny Chiquito, who was this Asian Sith in
yes, that's who
the new one.
Who's that guy? Yeah,
he's playing Acolyte. He's playing the husband of Lindsay Lohan in that movie, and that comes out in 2025. Jeff Bridges came out, talked about Tron Ares, the third Tron movie. He's been doing that for 40 years. They announced that Nine Inch Nails are going to be doing the soundtrack. Trent Reznor and Atticus are going to be doing the soundtrack to that. And of course, they did Social Network. They did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, and they also announced Stitch in live action. Lilo and Stitch. Never saw it. Everybody tells me I need to watch it. Comes out next summer in the theater. They're filming it currently. And like I mentioned, trailer for Snow White looked great. We see the dwarfs for the first time. They look a little creepy and weird because you're so used to seeing them animated.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot, she's supposed to be an evil queen. Okay, we'll judge that. But I like some of these movies how they do the live action. Some of them are kind of hit and miss. Cinderella I wasn't a big fan of that. I liked Beauty and the Beast.
Really good or really bad. Like there's really no in the middle.
Yeah, not in the middle. And we're so used to like seeing the animated version of it too. It's kind of hard to get out of that. Like with Little Mermaid, it was weird to see that movie because there was some stuff that was omitted from that movie, which I wish we had seen. But David Blaine, they announced he's going to be doing a brand new magic show on Disney Plus, on National Geographic, part of Disney Plus. And they had a brand new trailer for Mufasa the Lion King.
Yep.
They debuted there too. But we get into the Star Wars of everything. We saw the first trailer to Skeleton Crew, which we already knew was going to be kind of like the Goonies in space. This comes out on December 3rd of this year, in just a few months. I actually like this trailer, but it's weird to see
Who's in that?
a
Jude
suburb.
Law, right?
Jude Law, and you find out he is playing a Jedi in this. He's a Jedi on the run. And the kids in this, they're all kids like Goonies going off and doing some sort of an adventure, looking for some mystery thing. So, trailer looks really good, and I'm very excited about that. They also announced this Andor Season 2 will take place over 4 years, and Ben Mendelsohn's going to be returning, and Forrest Whitaker is going to be returning, and Alan Tudyk's going to be returning to do K2SO, the robot in that movie, in Rogue One. He's going to be coming back for Season 2. And it's going to be coming to Disney Plus in 2025. They just started filming Mandalorian and Grogu. Jon Favreau and Filoni came on stage, talked about it a little bit. Zeb, who had a little quick cameo in the last season of The Mandalorian, is going to be there. Coming out in May 2026. During the weekend before we get into the Marvel stuff, Kevin Feige was spotted wearing a Spider-Man hat with a Werewolf by Night jacket ahead of D23. The Spider-Man hat played more to the animated side, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I'll talk about it right now. Marvel Animation, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. More details on this show. No release date yet. It'll be 3D animated, but it'll look like a comic book. I saw some pictures of this. I have it in our notes here. It does look very, very cool, like comic book-like art. Coleman Domingo was announced he's going to be doing the voice of Norman Osborn. The Future Foundation suit and team will be involved. Future Foundation is futuristic Spider-Man in kind of like Fantastic Four guard. It's kind of like black and white. Iron Man, Daredevil will be appearing. Peter will get his spider bite when Doctor Strange and Venom come through a portal to fight along with a spider, and the spider is going to end up biting Peter in this animated version. Peter doesn't know who Doctor Strange is in this universe, and Peter's and Norman's relationship in the series is similar to Peter and Tony's in the MCU's relationship. And I do have this in the slides. This is kind of the characters of what we're going to see in this show. Like I mentioned, on the far left bottom corner, that's the Future Foundation suit. You see Doctor Strange, and a lot of these are comic book accurate. A lot of them, even up to the point of Peter Parker, looks exactly like the very first issue of Spider-Man that came out in 1963. So, Coleman Domingo's doing the voice. Peter Parker, we already got that. And X-Men 97 Season 2. No release date yet. Scene featuring Magneto and Court, Havoc, Bishop, Apocalypse, Lady Deathstrike, Sabretooth, characters all will appear. And X-Men will wear the Grant Morrison yellow and black suits, which are famous in the late 90s, early 2000s. What If will end with Season 3. And there's no release date yet for that either. Season 3 will be the last season. Moon Knight, Ironheart, Shang-Chi, and White Vision will all appear. Oscar Isaac coming back to do Moon Knight. He pilots an Iron Man style mech. Anthony Mackie's Captain America will say the iconic Avengers assembles line. One episode will feature the Avengers team of Captain America, Moon Knight, Monica Rambeau, and more wearing suits similar to the Power Rangers while facing off against Gamma monsters. Wong will be appearing. It'll include an episode of the Avengers. We already got that. And Eyes of Wakanda. This, out of everything, sounds the best. Ryan Coogler is in charge of this. That's probably why. And it's actually going to be canon to the MCU. 4 episodes long. Iron Fist will appear in this. It'll feature 3D CGI animation, kind of like probably What If, maybe a little bit different. It'll deep dive into Wakandan history. It will take place during different time periods. Many original characters will be introduced, including Wakanda's version of Disruptors. I don't know what that is. But it looks and sounds really cool, and it's great to see what they're going to do with Iron Fist after Netflix kind of fucked that up. But Marvel Zombies, also going to be 4 episodes. TVMA rating, everything from what they saw in the D23 studio seems like it sounded really cool. It's going to be a 5-year time skip. Described as hardcore TVMA, blood, ripping apart limbs, so on and so forth. Wenwu, Shang-Chi, and Katie will fight zombies. Shang-Chi gets bit by a zombie, so he uses the 10 rings to stop the infection. Shang-Chi, Katie, and Jimmy Woo fight a Skrull biker gang in a Mad Max-style sequence. They're saying it's going to look a lot like Mad Max. The Death Dealer from Shang-Chi is going to be there as well. And then they get into the Marvel Studios panel, and they talk a little bit about the movies. Didn't get a lot of big reveals, as I thought we may get a timeline, but then I was thinking, well, we're going to the end of Phase 5. Phase 6 is the beginning with Fantastic Four, kind of. So maybe by next year, this time, we may get a little bit more of what's happening in the future. We'll have to wait and see. But Ryan Reynolds opened the thing talking about how thankful he was for how great Deadpool and Wolverine's doing in the theater. And pretty much said he thanks Kevin Feige for letting them make fun of the MCU, says it's a way of showing love and saving the studio. Then they had a panel for Captain America: Brave New World. Showed brand new footage of that. We see, and this leaked because it was filmed in the Honda Center, which I think is that where the Staples Center used to be, and they renamed it. Is that what it's
called now? The Honda Center? It might be. Yeah.
I don't know. There's 16,000 people in there, so they didn't have any camera embargo, or you couldn't have any video taken. So videos of this whole entire trailer, all the trailers that were played here were leaked online in full, almost HD quality. So we saw the Red Hulk for the very first time transforming. We mentioned it last week. He transformed in front of the White House at a podium. Looked very cool. Mm-hmm. We see in Captain America: Brave New World, they're in Stark Industries. We see that in a quick glimpse. But seeing Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk, it's weird to see it, but it's awesome because I love that they're continuing the Red Hulk story. And I hope we see Betty. I hope we see his daughter Betty, and I hope we see more of that story. Fantastic Four first steps. They are currently filming. They had a little introduction video of Johnny Storm in costume, Joseph Quinn. Costume looks pretty cool, comic accurate from, I would say, 90s, but of course it's an alternate universe, so. We'll see. Ironheart, a show that we knew has been filmed for a while. We didn't know what was going on with it. They had a full trailer reveal for this. It looked great. She's going to build a iron suit with artificial intelligence. And there's footage showed that Riri is doing jobs that aren't exactly legal. And Anthony Ramos from Hamilton, his character, she works with him to get money to build her suit. It sets place in Washington, D.C. Looks really good. But Daredevil Born Again, this trailer leak was probably my favorite out of them all. Yeah, this looked amazing. Awesome. Looked great. And it's great to see John Bernthal is officially announced as coming back for this Frank Castle. We already knew that. There's a scene in the trailer of him and Matt Murdock face to face. Looked great. The whole entire cast seeing them back together. The villain of this is going to be White Tiger. It's he's kind of like. It's White Tiger's a weird character, but the villain of this is actually going to be, I think it's Muse, right? Is that the name of the character?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know much about that character. But the guy who played White Tiger, he did die in real life. I forgot to say that. And there's one scene in the trailer where they show 5 helmets for Daredevil. One of them is the She-Hulk one of them is the Netflix one, and there's 3 other ones. There's a white one, dark black one. So it's really cool to see those and see that they're playing off of that. And Season 2 is going to be filming pretty soon, and that's not coming out until March, Season 1. And then finally they released a full trailer to Agatha All Along. This looked good. I really like how the show is looking. I wasn't sure what I was going to think about it. I did like WandaVision a lot. Not the same creators, so of course he's doing Fantastic Four. However, I do like Catherine Hahn. I think she did a great job as Agatha. The song is catchy as hell. And they're doing more musical numbers in this as well. So we'll see where this goes. The finale is coming out on Halloween, so I'm hoping that we get a good Halloween episode. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that was it for D23. Not as many reveals as I thought, but like I mentioned, it's the end of Phase 5. We're going to be getting into the beginning of Phase 6, and I think we'll get the better slate next year, either D23 or Comic-Con, so we'll wait and see. But With that being said, let's get into the news. And it's non-news segment with a trailer roundup. Got a couple good trailers this week. The Monkey. I don't know what this is about. I don't know much about it. It's a very quick trailer, horror movie. Looked pretty good. The other trailer that we got this week, got yesterday, was Kraven the Hunter. Now, we talk about Sony and how they fuck up and drop the ball a lot with the Spider-Man of everything. And number one, they don't have Spider-Man in their own movies. And I don't know if that's a deal with Marvel where they can't have Spider-Man in their movies and they can't have the villains that they focus on in the Marvel movies. I don't know what the deal is. Nobody really knows what's on the paper, but there's something there that's preventing either one from using each other's characters. But Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. This is the second trailer. We see the very first glimpse of Rhino.
Yes.
This is better than the version of the Amazing Spider-Man Rhino. We see him transform. Yep, we see him transforming this into the Rhino hide and very animated look of Rhino. So we'll see how this plays out in the movie.
There's two reasons why I'm kind of looking forward to this film, and one is Aaron Taylor Johnson takes his time in picking movies. He doesn't typically pick scripts that suck, but you can also lose a good script during the course of a movie. Two, it's directed by the guy that did the Equalizer movies, or written by the guys that did the Equalizer movies.
Three.
So
it's rated R.
Oh, three, yeah, and it's rated R. So I do have somewhat of high hopes, probably 40, 60, 40% positive. Looking forward to this. I'll be seeing it the day it comes out, just because why not?
The other character in this we haven't heard about much is we haven't heard about the Chameleon, who is the brother of Kraven. We haven't heard anything about that. We know he's in this movie. But yeah, there's three big.
I did just buy that Kraven comic book too, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. But there's three big Spider-Man characters that are going to be debuting in this that aren't going to have any connection with Spider-Man whatsoever. Very, very cringy. I hate what Sony's doing.
It's only because Sony doesn't want to lose the rights to Spider-Man entirely.
That's
so
the only reason.
Movies like this.
Even if they suck, they don't care. They're going to keep the rights. Because the big money makers for them are the Marvel MCU Spider-Man movies.
And they don't want to lose all the rights. Yep,
which sucks, but just the way business is. Weekend box office last week, Deadpool and Wolverine won with $54.1 million. It ends with us. The Blake Lively movie came out with 50, very close. Twisters came out with 15 million. Deadpool and Wolverine is the newest member of the Billionaire Club, and today it beat Joker to become the biggest R-rated movie of all time. Very cool. Good movie. If you've not seen it, we're number one. Get out from the rock that you're living under and go see it, because it's fantastic. It's funny, and it's really good. I can't wait to see it again. And Kevin Feige had a little funny note on Instagram and Facebook today, and thanking all the for pretty much the audience and Marvel for making this movie. And behind the note, there's a list of all of the things that Deadpool can't say about cocaine. All the notes. I don't know if that's a real note, but it very well could be. But that was funny. Also, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, having the number 1 and number 2 movies last weekend, were the first couple since 1990 to top the box office since Bruce Willis and Demi Moore. Bruce Willis was Die Hard 2. Demi Moore was Ghost. So, two big box office juggernauts in 1990. I think Ghost was like the biggest movie of that summer.
Yes.
So, yep. Alien Romulus earned $6.5 million in Thursday previews, expected to earn anywhere from 28 to 38 million, but a lot of people are tracking it to be 40 to 50, and I think it's because of the word of mouth. And when a movie gets this great reviews like you gave it, but I knew beforehand that the movie was getting good reviews too, people are going to go see it because of that. That's the thing about Rotten Tomatoes. You get the really, really good scores, people are going to go in droves to go see it. It
influences people no matter how stupid that site is.
Yeah.
Yes.
We see in Fantastic Four First Steps, we see a couple of spy shots We see a sub restaurant called Westview Appliance, or we see a restaurant, an appliance store, Westview, television appliances. We see, and also they showed in the clip D23 a clip of Galactus again, and you see Herbie the robot in the corner moving around. And I don't think they played that at Comic-Con. I wanted to bring that up. Also, this didn't leak until after D23, but this was actually the Comic-Con trailer for Thunderbolts. We see a lot of the new characters in Thunderbolts, new costumes of Ghost, of Taskmaster, but we also see the very first glimpse of Bob, aka Sentry, played by Pullman. I can't remember his first name, but he's one of the Pullman kid. But we see the Sentry belt buckle, famous from the comic books, of course. We see the very first mask of the new Taskmaster. We see Ghost. But yeah, it's a movie that I'm excited for too. Variety claims, speaking of Marvel, Variety claimed that Eternals 2, that was in development, is now been shelved completely after the dismal returns of Eternals 1, which we kind of already knew that, and we kind of knew that they were continuing the story of this in Captain America Brave New World with the Ant-Man team being found in the Celestial and the Indian Ocean, so we kind of know that we're going to be seeing glimpses and pieces of whatever this movie was setting up elsewhere in the MCU, so we already knew that. I wanted to bring this up. If you've seen Fallout, you know her, but I saw this side by side and I thought she would be great as Rogue. They put a little
everyone's
gray streak in her hair.
her for both DCU and MCU at this point because of Fallout.
Because of Fallout. She was great in Fallout. So
she was great in Fallout. She was great in Yellow Jackets. She was really good in Army of the Dead. I like Ella a lot, so I want her to be in one of these universes.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman, the rumor is that he's going to be returning as Logan for Avengers Secret War. We kind of mentioned it last week. They'd be dumb to not have Logan, Tony Stark, and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man all on screen at the same time, because it would be a meme moment that would live forever. So, rumors that he'll be coming back for the Secret Wars as Wolverine. We also had a glimpse of what Daredevil would have looked like in Deadpool and Wolverine through some art shots that were done before the movie, and they weren't really sure. And we also see in the middle, we see Ghost Rider as well, because the big rumor was that Nicolas Cage was going to be a part of that, and I think they put the offer out there, but it fell through. But it would have been great to see Ghost Rider. It would have been great to see Daredevil, Ben Affleck coming back playing that role again, but it didn't happen. Bo DeMeo, we talked about him when he got fired from
fucking guy.
Well, yesterday he went on social media and he said that Marvel took away and stripped away all of his season 2 credits because of something that he posted for Gay Pride in June. And then Marvel, late last night, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Marvel Studios actually broke their silence over it because they wanted to get the record straight, saying that he was fired from the series because of allegations for an internal investigation that they did, and they didn't announce exactly what happened, but immediately they had no affiliation with him and wiped him right from Marvel for something that he did. Rumors that were a lot of sexual stuff that he was doing to
he was allegedly sending people like photos of himself in superhero poses. Allegedly.
That's what it was. Yep, that's what it was. Yep. But yeah, X-Men 97 Season 1 was great, and he had a big part of Season 2, so I know Season 2 is going to be just as good, hopefully.
He wrote the entire thing.
Yeah, so
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We saw some new pictures from the Joker Folie à Deux coming out in a couple months. Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix. Looks good. I can't wait for that movie. James Gunn, like you mentioned earlier, he avoids reshoots by not filming until I have a finished script. He said he's done a total of 1 day of reshoots in his past 2 films combined.
Yes.
So, I think he's very meticulous in the way he storyboards and the way he figures out a movie. So I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. Paramount Television Studios shutting down. We talked about it last week. They sold off comicbook.com. By the way, they fired Brendan Davis. I don't know if you know who Brendan Davis is, but he was pretty much the face of comicbook.com, and they fired him yesterday.
Yep.
And that is fucking weird because, like I mentioned, face of the company, started a podcast, Phase Zero, which I listen to every week, and he's gone. And I don't know if they didn't want to pay him this new company that took over, but Comicbook.com I do get a lot of news from, and like I mentioned, Phase Zero plus Comicbook.com I get a lot of news for the podcast from there. So, but Paramount Television closed their studios. They do Reacher, they do Jack Ryan, they also do Dexter. But I think what I read was Dexter was safe because it's a Showtime production. They're going to be moving to Showtime, but the Dexter spinoffs are fine. But also, speaking of Dexter, C.S. Lee, who is Mazuka, is on set of the Dexter spinoffs right now, speculating that he's in them, which I've been hoping.
We talked about that, was it last week or the week before?
Last week or the week before,
We want him to find. We want everyone's reaction when they find out about Dexter.
Definitely,
like, even if Dexter's on the
Quinn.
scene, like with Batista, like maybe telling everyone, like definitely Masuka.
Well, if Dexter,
the jokes he could make too, Masuka,
right,
because that's the type of character he is. When something bad happens in Dexter, he just kind of makes jokes about it. And Quinn, of course. So yeah, it'd be awesome.
Let's say Dexter Resurrection is Dexter on trial. He has to go back to Miami to be put on trial.
Yep.
And who do they have to have in the courtroom? They have to have everybody that he worked with as witnesses. So it would be Mazuka. It would be Quinn, who's probably depressed because Deb is gone. If he's even a cop anymore. It'd be Batista, of course. It'd be everybody that worked with him. And it'd kind of be like a who's who of Dexter, of the Dexter show.
Yes.
And then and if they brought his girlfriend in there, the one from New Blood, which I really liked. I really hope she comes back.
Yeah.
Harrison, the kid who played Harrison, if he comes back.
Usually kids are annoying, and Harrison was great in that show. All the kids in that show were awesome.
Yeah, you're right. SAG-AFTRA struck a groundbreaking AI digital voice pact with this group called Narrative. It become a new standard for ethical use of technology, and also makes it easy for performers to give consent and get paid. We talk about that all the time, how it's a very, very, right now, it's a very Wild West type of deal with that, with AI, where you can pretty much do anything, but they're trying to put a stamp on that to make it so people are paid for their likeness, pretty much. We got a brand new poster for Saturday Night. Jason Reitman trailer came out last week. It looks really good. Came out October 11th. Elle King, singer, daughter of Rob Schneider, talked about just how not nice he is. Doesn't agree with a lot of things he says. He's a very, very far Republican.
Yes.
Her quote is, "I'm really putting shit out there." He told her to go to fat camp when she was younger. Told her, "Don't fucking talk about me in the press." And added that they go years without talking. Rob Schneider kind of seems like he could be a dick. A lot of comedians are. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's ego. I don't know what it is. But you hear that a lot about chefs, comedians.
I think the thing with comedians, and this could be for chefs too, if you're funny, everyone blows you. Everyone praises you at all times. So you just have an ego that's just... Same with most chefs. Like, if you're really, really good at what you do... Actors in general, I mean, but like comedians specifically, because if you're really funny and you're in that lane, you're constantly being told how great you are, and so you end up with an ego no matter what.
Yep. But yeah, I'm not surprised by Rob Schneider whatsoever.
Yeah.
The Accountant 2. Didn't know this movie was coming out, but with Ben Affleck, the first Accountant was pretty good. Coming out on April 25th, 2025. Coming out in less than a year. I guess it's must already be filmed. I had no idea. And then he announced Frozen 3 coming out November 24th, 2027. We talked about the Gawker movie that Ben Affleck was going to be doing. And Bubba the Love Sponge says that he's willing to work with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon on this Gawker film for the tape that he supposedly leaked. So, it's the one where Hulk Hogan is also fucking his wife. So
yes,
I really hope we see this movie, and I really hope that Ben Affleck plays Hulk Hogan. Just because I didn't know I wanted to see it. I didn't know I wanted to see it till this news broke, but I definitely want to see it. I want to see this more than the Helmsworth one. So, James Cameron has announced he's currently penning a script for Terminator 7. Not much known about it. He's just started working on it, and of course we've got the Terminator 0 coming out, I think, in a couple weeks.
Okay.
During Judgment Day.
What you do. You do exactly what they did in Romulus, where you shrink everything down to just one set, one location. Don't go big with it. Have a nice budget of like $80 million. Hire somebody like Fede Alvarez who knows how to make something good on a small budget, and you go from there. As far as directing goes, don't try to make it this huge $250 million movie that you're going to lose all the money on. Just keep it small, because Terminator is similar to Predator, where they did that with Prey, where you can do just a smaller, independent almost looking thing. And that's how I would go with it. But, I mean, Cameron's got his hands full with Avatar, so I don't know what the deal is with this. I don't know if it's a reboot or not. It could very well be a reboot, or it could be into the future where the actual war is happening. They could go anywhere, and I do not know how I feel about this situation as a diehard Terminator fan.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I do love Terminator. But again, Terminator hits or misses with those movies as well.
Yeah.
And it's mostly the beginning are really good, middle is really bad. We've had a couple good ones in between.
First two are classics, then you have a whole lot of shit. Like, to me, the rankings go in the order they released. That's how I rank the Terminator films. That's pretty much how I feel about them.
Universal is somehow still caught up on all their Universal monsters that they created back in the 30s. And James Wan has been signed on to direct the Creature from the Black Lagoon remake.
Thank God. Great pick.
Does sound. Yeah.
His writing partner and like best friend did The Invisible Man, and that movie is fantastic. $5 million budget, made a shit ton in the box office. James Wan's known for doing small budget and making a lot of money off it. I mean, The Conjuring has made billions of dollars. Saw franchise has made like $800 million. So yeah, I think this is a great idea for him to do this, especially because he was going to do that Deep movie with the Aquaman before it got canceled at WB.
Oh yeah,
and that would have been very similar to Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I am extremely happy that he's doing this.
Yeah. In Saudi Arabia, some guy has a Guinness Book of World Records for connecting 444 unique game consoles to one TV using an array of switchers and converters. 444 consoles into one single
much.
TV. I have 10 in mine. I don't even know where the room. I don't know where the room I would have 444 consoles in here, but I thought I had no life. I'll say that. Lego announced a new Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas set. 2,193 pieces coming out on September 6th for $200. It's pretty much the whole entire landscape of that town in Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't know if you like that movie or not. I know you're not a big Tim Burton fan.
I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. I respect it for the stop motion.
The animation style, yeah.
What it did for the industry at the time. But it's not my thing. Some people even liken it to like more of a Halloween movie than a Christmas movie.
It's kind of in the middle,
Yeah.
Yep. M. Night Shyamalan says the studio was scared of marketing Unbreakable as a comic book movie because no one will go see a comic book movie. Now, this came out in 2000, right before X-Men, so that's the reason why the studio was scared, because there wasn't any movies out at that time that they could depend on for comic book movies. Right before the boom.
It was right after the shit and right before the boom.
Yeah. Anthony Bourdain, they're going to be doing a biopic on him. He died a few years ago. I know you've seen The Holdovers, but Dominic Sessa, who was in that...
See this kid? He is awesome.
He's going to be portraying Anthony Bourdain in that movie called Tony. It's going to be a A24 movie. And Netflix reportedly greenlights a Ghostbusters animated series. Don't know much more about that. 3D animation, that's all we really know. Francis Ford Coppola released a brand new trailer for Megalopolis. I believe that comes out in September sometime. I'm not sure about that really. In the weirdest casting, I've heard some weird casting, but this is the weirdest one I think I've heard all week.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage is going to be playing John Madden in a biopic called Madden. It's going to be a biographical drama directed by David O. Russell, though.
Yes, he's great. And I heard it's going to be the later years plus getting into the video game making. So I'm extremely... I'm looking forward to this, but such an odd casting choice. He's probably got to wear a
Strange.
fat suit or something, like
Yeah.
something over his face, unless he wants to do the whole Christian Bale thing and gain a bunch of weight. But I'd watch anything Nicolas Cage is in, so I'm excited.
You know who they should have cast as him because he does the best impression.
Frank Catalino or whatever that guy's name is.
Yeah, Frank Caliendo would have been an amazing.
Comedic.
It would have been spot on, but yeah. Disney Plus has cast Timothy Simmons from Veep in season 2 of Percy Jackson. I gotta watch season 1 because I did like that first movie that came out in the early 2010s. That was pretty good. I do want to see that. And finally, in news, there's a follow-up to a story we had a few months ago with Matthew Perry, who passed as a drug overdose. Matthew Perry, of course, from Friends. They arrested 5 people in this sting operation that they had for an underground criminal network, including his assistant, his doctors, who took advantage of the actor by selling him ketamine. There's some crazy shit. The doctor, there was a text message from the doctor. I wish I had the exact quote, but he says, God, we're going to make this idiot pay. Pretty much in a text message between him and his people and his assistant and all the other people that were talking behind his back. And they ended up selling him the ketamine that ended up killing him in the end. And they were all arrested and charged with with this drug investigation yesterday. So it's great to see that investigation come. You hate to see people that young. Of course, somebody like him who's been through a lot of drug problems through the years. He thought he was doing good, and then behind the scenes, his people that he's trusting behind the scenes the most, his assistant, are fucking him up, and his doctor. The doctor is the biggest problem in giving him the pills. But I mean, the same thing happened with Michael Jackson. This is the same thing that happened with him with Propofol with Michael. So that's it for news. That's it for our show this week. Next week, we got that 90s show 2B coming out, the second part. We're gonna watch Twister. It's from the 90s, which I haven't seen since 1998. And we're also gonna watch the brand new Twisters remake that just came out on digital. And next week, the Crow reboot. I don't know if we're going to hit the theaters or you're going to go to the theaters and see that, but we may talk about that as well.
Seeing it.
Okay. I listened to an interview with what's his name from The Bodyguard. God, why is the name blanking? Kevin Costner. Why is the name blanking me? And I never saw The Bodyguard, so I'm going to be watching that in the next few weeks. I was also, after watching The Toys That Made Us, I haven't seen the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, and I do love the Turtles a lot, so I want to watch that, especially the second one, because I think they bring Kang into it, the Shredder.
I think Kang's in it and Casey's in it.
Okay. Yeah, what's his name? That played Arrow. He plays Casey Jones. And of course, I'm still looking for that one show that I need to watch now that Dexter watches over. So how
about you do Blackbird? You haven't watched that yet, and it's got Paul Walter Hauser in it.
Good idea.
And you have Apple TV. I just started watching a little bit. I was watching clips because I just listened to a back episode of Rosenbaum's podcast, and he was on it talking about that show, and that show is fantastic. I think you'll like it a lot. It's like 6 episodes.
I need a good comedy, too, because after Dexter, there was a lot of darkness in Dexter for about 2 months there. That was a dark fucking show. So, we'll see. Yeah, that does sound like... Maybe I'll watch... That's like, 8 episodes? And that's just like 6, a single season. So.
6 or 8.
Okay, yeah. I'll watch that maybe this weekend then. Okay. All right, cool. So, thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening or watch this on YouTube. If you found us on YouTube, thank you. We're on all your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, we're on all the podcasts. We're on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, anywhere you find podcasts, you can probably find us. If you find us on YouTube, thank you. Like and subscribe too. The more subscribers we have, the more things we can do with the podcast. So, thank you everyone, and follow our socials as well. Facebook, we're Geek Blurb on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram. We're all over the place. So, thank you everyone. Talk to you later. Peace.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you, talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds. Lady a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain.